10:57 a.m. Quiz instructions. U.S. history. Famous speeches: Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream." Editor's note: this historic speech was a part of one of the most powerful movements in American history. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave the speech on August 28, 1963, to more than 200,000 civil rights marchers in Washington, D.C. It was a march for jobs and freedom. The march was an important moment that helped pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964. In the speech, King begins by talking of President Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. He goes on to say that 100 years later, Black Americans were still waiting for equal rights. I am happy to join with you today. This day will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 100 years ago, a great American, in whose shadow we stand today, freed the slaves. His words were a great light of hope to millions of black slaves who had been burned in the flames of injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of slavery. But 100 years later, the Black American still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the black man is still sadly crippled by handcuffs of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the black man lives on a lonely island of poverty surrounded by an ocean of wealth and riches. 100 years later, the black man is still wasting away in the corners of American society. He finds himself a stranger in his own land. So we have come here today to show this shameful situation to all. In a sense, we have come to our nation's capital to cash a check. Our founding fathers wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. They signed a check that every American was able to take to the bank. This check was a promise to all men. Yes, this promise was that black men, as well as white men, would have God-given rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, however, America has not honestly given this check, this promise, to the black man. Instead of honoring this promise, America has given black people a bad check. The check has been refused by the bank because it's worthless. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice cannot pay. We refuse to believe that there is not enough in the great banks of opportunity in this nation. So we have come to cash this check. It will give us the riches of freedom and justice. We have also come to this holy spot to remind America of the importance of now. This is no time for going slowly. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and empty valley of segregation. We seek the sunny path of justice for people of color. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of prejudice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. This nation cannot overlook the importance of the moment. This hot summer of the black American wanting more will not end until there is a fresh autumn of freedom and equality. We seek the bright day when justice shines. The year 1963 is not an end. It is but a beginning. Some have hoped that black Americans will be content. They will be sorry if the nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor peace in America until black Americans are given their rights as citizens. The storm of revolt will continue to shake our nation. We seek the bright day when justice shines. But there is something that I must say to my people. In seeking our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not drink from the cup of hatred. We must forever struggle with pride and discipline. We must not allow our peaceful protest to be changed by violence. Again and again we must rise to meet the power of physical force with the power of the soul. A great new call to action is heard in the black community. This must not lead us to distrust all white people, for many of our white brothers are here today. They realize that their future is tied up with our future. They know their freedom is most surely bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. As we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. Some ask those fighting for civil rights, when will you be content? We can never be content. As long as the black man is the victim of police violence, we can never be content. As long as our tired bodies cannot sleep in the motels or hotels because their owners refuse us, we cannot be content. We can never be content as long as black people are just moved from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be content as long as our children are stripped of their pride. We can never be content when we stand in front of signs that read "for whites only." We cannot be content as long as a black person in Mississippi cannot vote and a black person in New York has nothing to vote for. No, we are not content. We will not be content until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty river. I know some of you have gone through much trouble to be here today. Some of you have come fresh from narrow jail cells. Some of you have come after being hit by cruel police officers. You have been the veterans of great suffering. Continue to work knowing that suffering makes one stronger. Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Alabama. Go back to South Carolina. Go back to Georgia. Go back to Louisiana. Go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities. Know that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us not feel sorry for ourselves. Let us not sit in the valley of despair. I say to you, my friends, though we face difficulties today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live up to the words of the Declaration of Independence. It is written, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state burning in the heat of injustice, sweating in the heat of cruelty, will become a wonderful place of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious hatred of black Americans, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words that block us from our rights, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. We will stand up for freedom together. I have a dream that one day everything that is low shall rise up. Everything that is high shall be made low. The rough places will be made smooth. The crooked places will be made straight. The glory of the Lord shall be seen by all. All shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith we will be able to change the mountain of sadness to a stone of hope. With this faith we will be able to change sounds of anger and pain into a beautiful song of brotherhood. With this faith we will be able to work together. We will pray together. We will struggle together. We will go to jail together. We will stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. So let freedom ring from the wonderful hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the tall Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curving slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, "Free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last."